3 reviews. I made 3 reviews last year, covered 4 games, and now my backlog is starting to pile up. So, I should probably get some of this stuff off my checklist. Let's do some dirty work. Oh, no. Alright, now here, this is a game. I know I talk about this series too much, but one day, I will get people into this series. But I don't have time for it. I need something short and simple. Ooh, now there's something. So, Capcom did a very decent job with the new Resident Evil 7, I'll admit. But the only problem is, they got a bunch of franchises that are just long and forgotten. And one series that I really want to come back more than anything is a new Onimusha game. Wait a minute. There is a new one. It's called Neo. Well, at least until we can get a reboot of this series, I still got a bunch of games to finish. I'm Kaz, and I'm here to finish what I started. This is my backlog. Now, I know it's been a very long time since I've done anything, fellas, so I think I'm just going to get straight to the point, because today I'm going to be covering one of my favorite games on the PS2, Onimusha Warlords. I remember the first time I played Onimusha was back in my junior year of high school, when GameStop ceased selling the PS2, and I was just in time for getting one. I also remember it being very, very short, because I finished it within 2 days, and that really bummed me out. The series has really grew on me since then. The first game was pretty good. The second game was really good, and improved on the series with a deeper story. The third one's a complete no-brainer. It's godlike. I mean, we can't argue with that. And the fourth one, it doesn't exist.
We don't speak of such myths. It is forbidden.
I don't know much about myths, but I got it right here. I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
The game starts where our protagonist Samanosuke Akechi is watching over the battle at Okizahama. While being attacked by an opposing faction, we find Nobunaga Oda. Oh. He did. We then find Samanosuke is rushing to the aid of his cousin, Princess Yuki of the Saito clan, who he finds is missing. The letter he finds tells him demons, also called Genma, have arrived to Inabayama Castle and are wreaking havoc among its servants. With his companion Kaide, they rush to the castle to save his beloved cousin. Upon arrival, Samanosuke gets his ass handed to him by a demon while trying to rescue Princess Yuki, and is awakened by spirits of the Ogre clan, who claim they have been averted by the demons and grant him a gauntlet which will allow him to defeat them. Along his search, Samanosuke runs into a scientist named Guildenstern, who explains that he operated on and resurrected Nobunaga, which led him to making a pact with the demons to serve as their slave. We then meet a man named Tokichiro Kinoshita, a servant of the Oda clan who desperately wants Samanosuke to join, but can't seem to get the memo that Samanosuke doesn't want to be a part of that mess. Then there's Yumamoru, a farm boy Princess Yuki brought in after his parents died and treated him like a younger brother. To sum up the plot, as Samanosuke tries to retrieve Yumamoru from getting kidnapped from Tokichiro, Kinoshita explains that a ceremony is about to take place, which requires Nobunaga to drink the blood of Princess Yuki from her own skull, which the Demon Lord Fortinbras must bless in order to gain immense power and destroy the Saito clan. Both Yuki and Yumamoru end up getting brought to the underworld by Guildenstern to start the ceremony and lock our heroes out with a barrier. So it's up to Samanosuke and Kaede to put a stop to the ceremony by getting through and defeating Fortinbras. Onimusha is a survival action game, very much in the style of Resident Evil. You'll be fighting hordes of enemies while gathering souls to gain health, magic, and experience to upgrade your weapons and healing items, all in your nifty little gauntlet. There are 3 main weapons you can use. You have the Ryzen, a sword infused with lightning magic that's quick to use against your average pawns, the Enryu, a weapon infused with fire which is great for dishing out a pillar of flame to knock down multiple opponents in a straight line, and great for taking down stronger enemies, and the Shippu, a double-edged sword with the power of wind, which is especially useful when surrounded by enemies. Magic used from these weapons is also important for opening magic doors based on the magic level required, which I find is a good way of showing that you shouldn't be afraid to kill everything in your path because you know you're going to need those upgrades in the long run. Attacks can be dodged or parried, and downed enemies can be executed with a finishing blow. There are also some secret attacks that can cause a one-hit kill. I can't say I really know how to execute these half the time because it's really difficult to pull off, but from my understanding, it happens when you strafe in a direction and attack before an enemy hits you. Oh yeah, and if it couldn't get more Resident Evil than this, there is a rifle and a bow you can use, but you won't be using it much. It's more important for a later boss battle in the game. As you would expect, this game borrows the same elements that you would expect in a Resident Evil game. Click X on everything, solve a little puzzle, find keys and herbs, play a weak character only to run away from everything, tank controls, and of course, top-notch voice acting.
Sweet, beautiful, lovely, the dripping blood, and what's this? Oh, a liver. What's that smell? Who's there? A human? How disappointing.
Face me, demon!
You know, I love Samanosuke, but you just can't take this guy seriously.
We meet again, Samanosuke. Still no interest in coming to work for the Oda clan?
For the last time, no! For the last time, no!
This game has a lot of post-hack-and-slash elements to it, which I'm sure gave birth to inspiring games like Devil May Cry. The tank controls are all a part of the means of understanding combat. One false move and you will be punished for it. I like this aspect. It teaches you to be aware of your surroundings when cornered to another camera angle, which is where targeting and strafing come to place. Like I said, post-hack-and-slash elements. And as for puzzles, they're not too bad. You'll find some chests with tiles you have to get in the right order. Completing these will grant you items essential to progressing to other areas, things like jewels which you can use to increase your health and magic meters, or better armor for Samanosuke, and better blades for Kaede. Which also reminds me, I actually had a lot of fun playing as Kaede. Our bits are very brief, much like playing Sherry and Ada in Resident Evil 2. But can they do this?
Can I find the words to tell you?
The last thing I have yet to mention are the boss battles. Well, they're easy. I mean, the first boss required some careful dodging and parrying, which is a good start for practicing and learning patterns. Plus, you only had one weapon to carefully use magic with, but once you get the other weapons, it's kind of a breeze because you can just spam them with magic. I don't have a problem with this though. Speaking of boss battles, time to get to our first final boss battle of the show. So if you don't want to see spoilers, you might want to skip over to this segment as prompted. I'll give you some time. Yeah? You got it? Okay. Moving on. So after you've parrowed through the castle and found the giant bow and great arrow to open the gate to the underworld, it's time to put a stop to Nobunaga and his ceremony once and for all. Guildenstern unleashes his experiment Marcellus for a second time, and yeah, he's cakewalk. And now, we finally prepare for the most epic boss fight of all time. Yay! So, Fortinbras uses every element that Samanosuke has at his disposal. No big deal, because if you have the Bishamon sword, it's just a few dodges here and there and a walk in a park. The Bishamon sword is an optional side quest in the game. This guy will take you to a place called the Dark Realm to take on a challenge, which he promises will give you a handsome reward. You have to go through 20 floors of enemies that you face throughout the game. It is pretty difficult, but you do get herbs, medicine, some fluorite stones, and even a talisman that'll revive you when you die, And the best part is, you can go back for seconds. Once you've reached the last level, you'll receive the Bishamon Ocarina, which can only be used when you reach the last rest area of the game before you face Fortinbras. Once you play the Ocarina in front of the side door, you'll receive the Bishamon Sword, the most powerful weapon in the game. The Bishamon Sword has no magic meter and can be used endlessly, killing normal enemies in one hit. Again, it's not required to have this, but defeating Fortinbras with this thing does make the fight a hell of a lot easier. And then, we're brought up with the worst ending ever. After defeating Fortinbras, the gate to the underworld is about to collapse, and while everyone else tries to escape, Samanosuke gets grabbed by Fortinbras, who is still alive, and gets crushed, where his blood then drops onto his ogre gauntlet, and he turns into this thing.
Now that, some serious ass pull.
Samanosuke finally defeats him, only he doesn't get out of the underworld in time and gets stuck with Nobunaga. And then, he's never heard from again. In the aftermath, Nobunaga ends up destroying Inabayama Castle anyway, and ends the line of the Saito clan. Meanwhile, Princess Yuki stays with a family friend and leaves overseas to travel the world, along with Yumemaru. And as for Kaede, well, she searched far and wide for Samanosuke, and never found him. Then, she gets employed to Mitsuhide Akechi's army and dies in a war 14 years later.
Wait a second. Now that I think about it, Kaede was always giving him those looks. And for 14 years, she never found him. Which means she was in love with him. Oh my god. Hold on. You're telling me the guy's alive and kicking? Well, I guess we'll have to find out with the sequels. Ahem. The sequels. That's better.
Completing the game normally will unlock the panda suit for Samanosuke. It doesn't do much, but you can do this. That's about it. But I think what makes this costume so enjoyable is this little guy. Ain't he adorable? If you get an S rank at the end of the game, you unlock the Succubus costume for Kaede. To do this, you have to beat the game in less than 3 hours, have to have over 55,000 souls, and must defeat at least 600 plus enemies. But I got 601. There's also a challenge mode that can be unlocked if you find all these fluorite stones, and if you beat that, you get to play a mode that lets you play with the Bishamon sword and every other weapon with unlimited ammo and magic. But I didn't have time to get to that for this review, so I'm sorry. Now, it's not a whole lot of extra stuff, but it's extra content nonetheless, you know, before season passes. I can see it now. Get the Bishamon sword first when you pre-order from GameStop. That first-person Onimusha we've all been waiting for. I'm kidding, I didn't mean that.
In the end, I find Onimusha Warlords to be a very criminally underrated game. In fact, I think that this series deserves a little bit more love. But you gotta blame Keiji Inafune because apparently he doesn't like it when games don't sell well. Or perhaps he should just stop producing garbage.
Stuff that'll make you faster and stronger and make the bad guys cry like an anime fan on prom night.
I think I'll leave it at that.
Thank you all very much for watching the very first episode of Kaz's Backlog. I never thought I'd actually get this stuff going, but hey, we're here. We're here now. It's up. It's happening. So I hope you look forward to whatever comes next. Be sure to click that subscribe button and share the video if you liked it, because I sure as heck enjoyed making it, and it really helps me out. Spread the word. I love you all, and I will see you all in the next episode of Kaz's Backlog.